I'm Jason Stein, publisher of Automotive News, and this is Daily Drive. It's Monday, August 3rd. Any talk of Tesla ultimately revolves around a couple of key subjects: manufacturing or product. There's been so much conversation about Elon Musk's ability to build his vehicles over the years and where he would build them next. Recent news of a decision to build a new plant in Texas was an important next piece in his overall goal to increase Tesla's footprint globally. Equally as interesting is the Tesla product lineup, led by the forthcoming expansion into trucks. So why Texas and why trucks? And what's next? In today's second part of a three-part conversation, we explore those topics, including the news that he's already thinking of a plant after Texas. He also talks about the complexities of building in California, his lack of research on creating the Cybertruck, and the next move in his product expansion. We've reached Elon Musk in Brownsville, Texas.
Speaking of cars, you announced that you're going to Texas to expand your manufacturing capability. How important was that decision, and why Texas?
Well, it's high time that we built a second automotive plant in the U.S. I mean, right now, just factually, 70% of all Tesla vehicles are made in Fremont, in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area, which is a pretty expensive place to make cars, and somewhat counterintuitive, to say the least. But nonetheless, 70% of all Tesla vehicles worldwide are made in the Bay Area. Now, once we have Berlin operating, obviously that'll shift we'll finally have a factory in Europe and not have to build cars in California and then put them on a ship and send them through the Panama Canal, get all the way over to Europe and pay sort of import duties and all that sort of stuff, and then put them on a truck. And it's just not very efficient. It's not good for the environment. We should really be building cars locally, at least on the continent where the customers are. So at least we'll have Shanghai factory, so factory in China, factory in the U.S., factory in Europe. But we also need a second factory in North America, because we really should be we should not be building cars in California and then transporting them all the way to the East Coast. It's expensive and again, not very good for the environment to be transporting cars across the entire country. We should be closer to the East Coast, and so now Texas is actually our second biggest market in the U.S. Even though there's some challenges on selling in Texas, despite that, it's still our second biggest market in the U.S. And it's good from a logistics standpoint. Relatively easy access to the East Coast, and obviously the center of the country. And there's also, when talking to key members of the team that would need to move to Austin from California in order to get the factory going, Austin was their top pick, to be totally frank. That was a big factor in choosing Texas and Austin, but specifically Austin. I guess a lot of people from California, if you ask them what's the one place you'd move outside of California, it's Austin. So that was a big factor, because I just went around the room with the team and said, "Hey, where do you want to spend time? And where would you potentially move?" And they're like, "Well, Austin was just the number one choice." So that's why that's kind of why we picked Austin. And I asked them, well, what about Dallas? And they're like, well, no, they just want to go to Austin. So I'm like, okay, we're a very talented team, and it really makes a difference if where they want to go, So
you had people in Oklahoma who also wanted you as well.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a question of who wants a Tesla. It's just I got to, it's like there's a certain critical mass of engineering and management talent that are needed to create this factory and do the manufacturing engineering. And like I said, our factories are not just making a copy. It's each factory is a product, and each factory has a lot of innovation, and each factory is more advanced than the last one. So there's a massive amount of manufacturing engineering, and that wraps back into the product engineering So we make the car design easier to manufacture, and we improve the manufacturing system itself. So basically, we need a lot of smart, talented people. It's not just drop. It's not like, hey, let's just drop a coffee machine somewhere. This is the factory itself is the product. As I said on the earnings call, the factory is the product, won the car. So it matters where are the very talented people willing to go, and what is an uphill battle. Austin was not an uphill battle. That's why we picked Austin.
So could there be additional areas of the U.S. that you consider for manufacturing beyond this?
Yeah, I think at some point there'll be a third gigafactory. I'd imagine, closer up northeast, most likely. But I'm not sure at this point. I mean, we got our hands full between building Giga Berlin and Giga Texas. That's for sure. And all of the vehicle programs that are coming down the pike with the Cybertruck, semi, new Roadster. We've got obviously on the solar side, we've got the solar glass roof and the power walls, Megapack, the power pack. There's got to make sure we solve the autonomy question. So it's just like there's a massive amount of stuff to do. But do I think at some point we will have a third plant in North America? I think that's very likely.
Over what kind of time frame? Can you even see the time horizon at this point?
Probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
I guess we'd start construction probably. I mean, you're literally just asking me. It's not like I've got let me consult my strategic plan. This is literally a spur of the moment, rough guess. Probably would start construction in 4 years ish. That's just like my sort of stream of consciousness guess.
Sure. Are you still considering moving your headquarters out of California?
Well, that's going to require a lot more thought. Obviously, there's no question that our headquarters will remain in California in the short term. Long term, we'll have to see. So, but certainly the vast majority of the Tesla management and engineering staff is in California. So, that is certainly our headquarters for now, and for sometime into the future.
Is it hard manufacturing in California? There have been some issues with paint quality, and that's been well documented. And one major reason is that the cars are made in an environment where there are stringent EPA guidelines, restrictions. Does that lead to a discussion about maybe the wisdom of building cars in California going forward?
I mean, for sure, the permitting process in California is extremely onerous. Probably the Bay Area and LA might be the hardest places to do any kind of emissions on Earth, which is to say that which means that you have to be extremely clean in your manufacturing in those areas, which I do actually agree with, by the way. And I would not lay blame on California for any paint issues that Tesla's had. I would internalize that responsibility and say, that's kind of our fault, not the state. I do wish the state would, process documents faster and maybe consolidate some of the regulatory bodies. There's just so many regulators and so many regulatory agencies, and they all had a reason for being there at some point in the past. But I think it would be wise to just take a look at just how many regulatory agencies there are and say, maybe we should combine some of these and not have 12 referees on the field.
Sure.
You need referees on the field, but how many referees do you want on the field?
Sure.
There's a limit. You don't want more referees than players. That'd be weird. So, but fundamentally, this is not California's fault. It's our fault. Where we've had some issues, and in some case it was, we had a thing where we outsourced a bumper to a supplier, which was a mistake, and because they just had trouble doing paint matching, and Anyway, we just brought that bumper painting back in house, and actually now it's good. I think actually our paint quality right now is pretty good. To be clear, we just had a few bumps in the road. Also, we were able to activate our South Paint shop. So there's two major paint shops, North Paint and South Paint, and they're both gigantic. And for a while, we were basically just operating out of North Paint, and now we've almost got South Paint fully activated. I think pretty close, and so we can focus North Paint just on Model 3 and Model Y, and South Paint on S and X. And that'll allow us to really just hone in on the paint quality of those vehicles instead of putting all four vehicles, which are very different sizes and shapes, through one paint shop.
I'm sure you followed some of the J.D. Power IQS or the Appeal surveys, and Tesla doesn't allow J.D. Power to survey owners in 15 states where the approval is required. Can I ask you why not? And would your position change as you become more mainstream?
I don't even know. I think zero about JD Power. Meaning, like, I don't. And I spent zero amount of time. I don't even know what JD Power is doing. So, at one point I made a joke like, it's like everybody's got a JD Power award. Like, I don't know anyone who doesn't have a JD Power award. Like, to be totally frank, they do give out a lot of awards. So, at the end of the day, the thing that really matters is consumer satisfaction. And if you look at consumer satisfaction about Teslas, they're the highest of any car on the market. So all things considered, there's no question that people are happiest with our cars than any other vehicle. And that's true of consumer. If you look at the consumer reports, when they do their survey or JD Power does their survey, we actually are the highest on consumer satisfaction. So we may not be perfect in every respect, but what really matters as a consumer, what really matters if you're buying a car is your satisfaction after the purchase, all things considered. And Tesla has the highest in the industry.
From that perspective, and let's talk a little bit about product for a minute. You mentioned some of the expansion areas that you're looking at. What type of customer research did you do in developing the Cybertruck?
Oh, zero. Customer research? No, I mean, we just made a car we thought was awesome, it's looked super weird. I just wanted to make a futuristic, like a futuristic battle tank, that's something that looks like it could come out of Blade Runner, or Aliens or something like that, but that is also highly functional. So it was like had incredible capabilities. Like basically, it was like faster than a Porsche 911 and a bit more, more towing power, more trucking capability than F-150. So it's a better sports car than 911, better truck than F-150. If you do, and it's armored, and it looks sort of kick-ass from the future. That was the goal. Recognizing that this could be a complete failure, and people are like, "Oh wow, you're crazy! That car doesn't look like any other car. We are not going to buy it." That could have been one of the outcomes. But I wasn't super worried about that because it's like, okay, if it turns out nobody wants to buy our weird-looking truck, then we'll build a normal truck. No problem. There's there's lots of normal trucks out there that look pretty much the same. You can hardly tell a difference. And sure, we could just do some copycat truck. That's easy. So that's our fallback strategy. Yeah. So I didn't think it was all that risky to come out with Cybertruck because it might have just been some weird niche product that not many people were interested in. But then we could always just revert to doing a truck that's much more like other trucks. Now, as it turns out, the reaction has been amazing. We've had several 100,000 people place orders for the truck, and it's really been we've seen more excitement about the Cybertruck than any product we've ever unveiled.
Do you still see it classified as a medium duty, say on par with a Ford Super Duty or a Silverado 2500, or would it be more in line with an F-150?
It'll be better than F-150, and at one point, I was like, man, this truck's pretty big. I wonder if it's too big. And I should say I sort of made the executive decision to not make this a world truck, so it does not comply with a lot of specifications, and like it doesn't comply with a lot of like the EU spec stuff. But that's okay. We can always build a slightly smaller truck that does comply with the EU spec in the future. And there's maybe some slight chance of getting, a pass. I mean, maybe we can get some exceptions to the EU rules depending upon how it's classified. But we're really fundamentally making this truck as a North American ass kicker, basically. And the goal is to kick the most amount of ass possible with this truck. So we want it to be something that you could use to, tow a boat, horse trailer, pull tree stumps out of the ground, go off-roading, and you don't even have to worry about scratching the paint because there isn't no paint, so you could just be smashing boulders and and be fine. It'd be great. So it's like some badass off-roading, and it's going to have the ability to access the battery pack. So you don't even need a generator because it's got really high power, like 240 volt as well as 110. High amperage. It'll easily power any kind of power tool situation you want. And it even has a compressor built in if you need an air compressor because we have that for the air suspension, so you can just tap the air compressor. So you could use it for, like, if you're running a construction site, you can use it. It's going to be great for a construction site, great as a utility car, great as a fun car. And it's like literally, the body panel's are bulletproof to a handgun. So, probably helpful in the apocalypse. These things are seeming more apocalyptic these days. So, let me tell you, the truck you want in the apocalypse is a Cybertruck.
A truck for the apocalypse. This is like a good marketing tagline.
Yes, we wish to be the leaders in apocalypse technology.
Are you targeting a different type of customer than the more traditional, fiercely loyal pickup customers that are out there?
Well, I don't know. We're not really trying to target anyone. If they like the Cybertruck, cool. If they don't, yeah. So, but I don't know that we're necessarily trying to. We're not doing any marketing targeting. Honestly, we just made a car that we love and we think is cool, and those who share that feeling will buy it, and those who do not will not. But we're not trying to, play some marketing game. We're just trying to create products that we think people will love.
With the Model Y out, Cybertruck, Semi, Roadster looming, how much bigger can the portfolio get?
Well, I guess over time we would have to, if it would make sense, to address all of the key functional areas. Probably would make sense at some point to do a more compact vehicle, and to do kind of like a van or minivan that's capable of like being a utility van as well as a van for people. Maybe we wouldn't do a minivan; we would just do a van, or something in between a minivan and a van. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
So there's still plenty of segments that you think Tesla could compete in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything really exciting?
Well, one thing would be can you make a minivan that looks good? But nobody's ever done that.
So that's something that could be in the queue. And anything else that would be really appealing?
Well, like I said, we've got a lot of products that we still have to complete all of the design for manufacturing stuff and build the factory and all that. So our product roadmap is already pretty full. But, there's at least the minivan thing and the sort of compact car. Like you want something that, you could park in a tight space, in downtown Paris or something like that.
We reached Elon Musk in Brownsville, Texas. And that's Daily Drive for Monday, August 3rd. For breaking news, go to autonews.com. And for a library of nearly 100 stories, go to autonews.com/dailydrive. We'll be back Tuesday with part 3 of my conversation with Elon Musk.